Welcome back, everybody. Episode 005, Boxer Briefs podcast. We are your hosts. I am the Wild Man,
I'm Cole.
and we are back at it again, or as Aerosmith would say, back in the saddle again. 2021, you couldn't get rid of us. We got boxing to talk about. We got a star guest tonight. Calls, how the heck have you been?
Hey, I've been great. It's 2021. The shots rolled up. I got my shot. I've been given the shots. Oh, I haven't been taking shots.
Oh, this is a family-friendly show, my friend.
Yes, sir.
We got a lot to talk about, and we got a great guest on tonight who is fresh off his knockout victory on the Mike Tyson-Roy Jones Jr. pay-per-view that was on just about a month ago. And as you and I both agree, was fight of the night.
Absolutely fight of the night. And we watched it again, and I'll watch it again after that. He is a great up-and-coming fighter and going to be a great guest tonight on the show.
So if you haven't guessed it, we are bringing on Mr. Jamaine, the Technician, Ortiz, fighting out of Worcester, Massachusetts. He's a hometown guy for us. I'm pretty pumped to talk to him. Let's jump right into it. We got to cover Triple G. We always cover Triple G. Triple G, Camille Szermeta, end of last year, Friday night fights, went about exactly how we thought it was going to go and how most other people who analyze fights predicted it was going to go. What did you think of it?
Triple G comes out and absolutely schools Camille Szermeta and, body shots, head shots, defense. Camille hardly gets a hold of him in one way or another, and when he does, not very hard shots. But complete schooling, and his corner had to throw in the towel and stop the fight just because of the massive beating Triple G was doling out.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on that. I don't think he had anything for Triple G whatsoever, and I think he was a little bit stunned by Triple G's power, that it was still there. And as we've talked about before, Triple G can box too. He doesn't get enough credit for that, but he can. Absolutely. And he's obviously not known as a light-footed boxer, but he can box when he needs to. And Triple G was able to show us a little bit of both, brawling and boxing in that fight. And I agree with you. Szermeta just was outclassed in that match, and I think he can definitely have a career at middleweight, but he fought the best of the best right now at 160, and he found out pretty dang quick that it was not going to be in his favor.
Yeah, it was similar to when Canelo was much younger and he came up and fought Mayweather.
Exactly.
No fight fans expected Canelo to win that fight.
Right.
But it was a good fight for his career, for him to take that and to get the experience and to get the payday. And I'm sure that's what Camille was doing. He may never fight a name like Triple G again. But I can guarantee you he's got, double-digit lessons he's going to take from that fight and continue with his career. He's no longer undefeated, but he can take those lessons back to Poland and keep beating up those Polish guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, a fight like this really shows you the discrepancy against a guy who's a little bit younger. He's 20-plus fights, undefeated, coming over to fight the champ. A guy who's almost 40 years old at this point. A lot of people think he's in the back nine of his career, but he's still got a belt around his waist and he can still hit. And I think that Mr. Szermeta found that out literally the hard way.
Yeah, many times and many times over again.
So what's up right now for his next fight? What are we thinking? Are we thinking Jaime Munguia?
So there was talks of Jaime Munguia. Another guy who's young, he's undefeated, obviously a much bigger talent than Camille Szermeta. Fighting a guy like Jaime Munguia, who's powerful, but he's a bit raw in terms of his defense, and he leaves himself open. And for a guy like Triple G, he could have a field day on an unrefined Jaime Munguia. That being said, Jaime's never been hurt, and he's extremely powerful in both hands. So really could make for a firefight with Triple G, who also likes to trade big blows. And, I'm starting to think, enough with the Canelo Triple G trilogy. After this fight, we may be asking for a Triple G Jaime Munguia trilogy. And so what are your thoughts about this potential fight coming up?
Yeah, I agree with you again on this one, Coles. I love it. I want to see Munguia. I want to see Triple G. Two traditional Mexican style fighters. It's bound for fireworks. I mean, neither of these guys are going to back down at any point.
No.
They're both going to take punishment. They can both give punishment. They can both take punishment. I agree with you. We've never really seen Munguia hurt, and Triple G is a guy that's known for having a chin. So I think this is going to be, an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. And it's kind of that, is Munguia the young buck that can waltz in and take down the man? And Triple G's the man right now. And even though he's a little bit towards the end of his career, he's an older guy at this point for a boxer, but does he still have a few tricks left up his sleeve? I think he definitely could. And I think Munguia is going to have to really prep for this fight and work on his defense a bit before he gets in there with him. But I love it. I want to see him sign on the dotted line and get this thing rolling, in March.
Yeah, this is going to be a don't miss fight for 2021.
Speaking of the potential Canelo trilogy, it looks like that is probably off the slate for quite some time to come. He just vacated his 160 belt this week, and he now has 2 belts at 168. We just saw him win a very, very convincing unanimous decision over Callum Smith in super middleweight just a couple weeks ago. What did you make of this one? I think that, we heard a lot coming into this fight about Callum Smith's height and his length, and I believe neither one of us were really that impressed with him using those to his advantage.
Yeah, I really was disappointed with Callum Smith's performance. He hung in there at times and exchanged with Canelo. But really, when you look at the two guys in the ring, Callum had the length to keep Canelo somewhat at bay throughout the fight if he would have fought differently. But nothing could be further from the truth in terms of what actually happened during the fight, where Canelo was more or less smothering him, and even to the extent that one of his arms was extremely swollen after the fight from the continuous punching of his right arm, probably to the effect that he was not throwing it very well. What's the lesson here for Callum Smith? Keep
Don't
the guy
fight
away.
Canelo.
What'd you say?
I said the lesson is don't fight Canelo.
Don't fight Canelo. Yeah, that probably would have been wise too.
I agree with you. I think that, with that length and that height, he really could have used that a lot better to his advantage of trying to keep Canelo at bay. We obviously know Canelo's a pit bull and he's low to the ground, but, we're talking about a guy who's relatively short at 168 versus Callum Smith, who's well over 6 feet. There was a huge difference in height. And now, had he used his arms and his length to his advantage to keep Canelo at bay, would he have won the fight? I don't think so, but I do think he could have made it a lot more competitive than it was. I was a little, disappointed with the performance that Callum put on. He hung in there with him. I mean, he didn't get knocked out by Canelo, which is always impressive. That's always impressive. But he's actually announced that he's going to be moving up to light heavy himself, which might be a more comfortable weight for him, being that he's well over 6 feet tall and currently weighing 168 pounds.
And that Canelo's not in the division.
Well, he has been and may come back if he so decides. Canelo, as we can see, can make any weight class he wants at any given time. Yeah,
that's pretty interesting.
So what's next for Canelo? There's rumors that he's going to be doing a 2-fight deal with surprise DAZN. So all that drama we were hoping to get rid of last year seems to be back in action with him and DAZN, just minus Golden Boy. We actually saw Canelo in the ring with Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins after the Garcia fight the other night. But what's next for Canelo?
Yeah, great question. There's talks of Billy Joe Saunders, and I like the idea of that fight. Do we know if Billy Joe is really ready for that fight? I think he could advantage from another fight in between to see really who is fit to be the next best guy to fight Canelo. Guy like Boo Boo Andrade would be a great fight. The fight that you and I attempted to go and see in the Boston Garden that I believe did not happen because Billy Joe Saunders was found with cocaine and prostitutes.
I don't remember the exact accusations, but I do
Okay.
believe there were some extracurricular non-boxing related issues.
Yes. Okay. Non-boxing issues. Thank you for clarifying.
NBI, non-boxing issues.
So some NBI going on. The fight didn't happen, but it really is a fight that needs to happen for 168 to see who is the guy that's the best in the division other than Canelo while he decides to stay at that weight.
Yeah, completely. There's been talk of potentially Charlo moving up to fight him. I'm probably going to get flack for saying this. I'm not completely sold on Charlo yet. Either one of them at this point. I'm not saying that they can't both be the man, but I still just think they've got a little bit left to prove to me.
Yeah.
Who am I? I host a podcast. That's about it. But I do think that the Billy Joe Canelo fight is very intriguing to me. And I agree with you. I think that Boo Boo versus Billy Joe would be a great lead up fight. Whoever wins that fight, fights Canelo after that. I think it would be spectacular to line up those three guys at 168. I really do.
Absolutely. There's a talent at the division, and let's see those guys fight each other the way we're seeing guys fight each other in the lightweight division.
Take the words right out of my mouth, why don't you? We saw Canelo in the ring the other night with his boy. They're in the same camp. They have the same trainer, Mr. King Ryan Garcia. And he had a fantastic comeback performance, actually, because he didn't start off too hot against Cool Hand Luke Campbell.
My boy Luke. Yeah. So Cool Hand Luke, without a doubt. And he's got that, he's got that one cool overhand right, which met with Ryan's chin, that he stands tall, and he fights with that chin out and sort of like in a cocky type Mexican cockfight type attitude, and he got caught, and like a flash in the pan, he went down and he hopped right back up. I thought that was Luke Campbell's opportunity to apply pressure and while he was dazed and potentially get a knockout. But that's not Luke Campbell's style. I understand that. But that would have been an opportunity for him. He still fought valiantly until the eventual body shot knockout by Ryan.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that when Luke smelled blood in the water, he should have attacked, and he backed off a little bit and allowed Ryan to adjust a bit. And it was only a round or two later that at the final bell we saw Luke almost go down and actually kind of turn his back and grab the ropes at the end of a round. And I think at that point, you and I both knew, and probably most of the viewers knew, that Ryan was back in control of the fight. And he didn't let up from that point on. We saw examples of his speed. We saw examples of, some good combinations. We saw him be the aggressor, which was interesting. He doesn't always have that role in the fight coming forward. And it was exciting to see. I think, he's a young kid. He's got a huge platform, social media wise. He's got a lot of followers, and he's going to bring some hype to boxing. And I liked it. Speaking of hype, interesting entrance he had there. Coming in on the throne as King Ryan. What did you make of that?
Well, I think your words say it all. I mean, there is a little hype there. Calling yourself the king, and I think a guy like LeBron James, who's questionably the best basketball player of all time. I mean, if you ask me, that wouldn't be the case, but you could make an argument for it. To ride in on a throne that way. And then to get knocked down in the second round kind of speaks to the fact that maybe you're a prince,
a jester.
Yeah, probably potentially gestured it, but maybe not the king yet. I think we got to leave that in that division currently for Teofimo Lopez, who a lot of people are calling the best pound for pound in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what did you think about the entrance?
I kind of liked it. I mean, it brought a little bit of flair. It was exciting. He's obviously a young, cocky kid, but he's been able to back it up. I do agree with you. If you're coming out on a throne with a crown on, you can't go down in the second round like that. But hey, more props to him for him to bounce right back up and get back involved. So I think all in all, it was a great comeback performance in that fight. And I liked the entrance. Maybe he'll tone it down as his opponents continue to get better. But speaking of opponents, he was not shy in calling out Mr. Tank Davis immediately after the fight.
Absolutely. So, talk about a star-studded division with guys like Tank Davis, Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, and for those guys to all come together and somebody is announced, the best after they've all fought, which it sounds like they want to do. That's the guy that can sit atop a throne. But until then, I think we're going to have to tune in and enjoy the excitement, and that certainly would be an exciting fight with Tank Davis, who clearly has power, at least as much power as Ryan Garcia, but maybe at a little bit of a disadvantage being a shorter guy. So what do you think plays out in a fight like that?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's about a 5-inch height difference. I think right off the bat, people are completely sold on Tank winning via spectacular fashion at some point in the fight. I'm not completely sold on that. I think Ryan's going to learn from the Luke Campbell fight. He's going to adapt to fighting, powerful, more stout guys like a Tank Davis. And I think that he's going to learn from it. I think he's going to learn to keep his hands up a little bit better. And I don't think he's going to allow himself to be kind of, wide open again like that. I honestly think Ryan could take that fight. And I think if he's got the training, a good camp, I think he does take that fight. But again, not taking anything away from Tank Davis. He had arguably the knockout of the year over Santa Cruz just a couple months ago. So, again, hottest division in boxing. Every single guy wants the other guy. No one's shying away from each other. Speaking of no one's shying away from each other, while we know there's a lot of big names out there, there's also a big name that's quickly working his way up the rankings. He's top 50 in the world right now. He's top 10 in the United States in the lightweight division. He just had an awesome body shot knockdown victory over Suleiman Sagawa on the Mike Tyson-Roy Jones undercard. He's from Worcester, Massachusetts. He's fighting pride at 14-0. Mr. Jamaine Ortiz, the technician.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this. Really enjoyed his fight on the Tyson card. And this is one of those guys that's going to be up at the top of the division with all the guys, Garcia, Tank, Teofimo, fought Teofimo in the Golden Gloves. Can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah, let's get him on. And again, if you haven't heard the name before, Jamaine Ortiz, write it down because you're going to be hearing a lot more of it soon. All right, we'd like to welcome our guest, Jamaine Ortiz, to the show. He is 14-0 with 8 knockouts, fighting out of Worcester, Massachusetts, the technician. How are you doing tonight, Jamaine?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much for coming on. How's your holidays?
It was good, I got back within the holidays. I'm usually with the family, so just spending time with, cousins, aunties, and mom, brothers, and that's it.
So you were able to see some people. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. So obviously you just came off a massive pay-per-view card with Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., two of the biggest names for the last few decades in boxing. How did you get involved in that event?
My promoter, Jimmy Birchfield, CES, they've been promoting me, and they're in charge of that, and they had the opportunity to put me on the show, and they did. They took care of me, and it was a good opportunity, and I'm thankful for it. So big shout out to CES.
Yeah, that was an exciting show. Were you able to take in the main event at all?
I was able to watch it. Yeah. It was cool. I was, I was a little bit on my phone, so I wasn't like super tuned in, but I was able to get some glimpse of it.
Yeah, I'm sure you were getting plenty of texts and calls at that point. So
Yeah.
A lot of guys idolized Roy Jones and idolized Tyson, and I think people who aren't even keeping up with the sport currently tuned in for that fight. I actually felt your fight was the best fight of the evening, but it was pretty cool for you to be able to be on that card. Are there any guys like Tyson or Jones that you idolized growing up watching fighting?
As a kid, I watched a lot of Roy Jones. That's why I used to try to imitate. I remember I'd be on YouTube just watching all his stuff. But I watched a lot of people, Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather. I watched everybody who was considered at one point one of the greatest, and try to imitate them all.
And Wildman was telling me you were a big Ali guy as well.
Yeah, I like Ali, I didn't really like study him like that because he was a heavyweight.
Okay.
Well, he was more past my time, but Mike Tyson was more my time where I was able to, I kind of felt the energy of the fan base of Mike Tyson kind of more, But Ali's more, word for mouth. But I didn't really study him as a kid, As I got older, I started watching him, but as a kid, it was mainly Roy Jones and Mike Tyson.
Gotcha. So that must have been a pretty incredible evening for you to two of your idols be on the exact same card as them, probably.
Yeah. It was cool. It was definitely cool.
And after they retired, that's kind of like a dream. Like, how could that happen? Both these guys coming out of retirement. It's incredible.
Yeah. It was cool. I took it as like, a lot of people were more excited than I was for the fight. To me, like, I know where I'm going. So I just was thankful for the opportunity to showcase my skills in front of everybody and the world to be watching. And when you know where you're going, sometimes a lot of things don't surprise you when you get there, So that's how I took it in.
Champion mindset. I like it. So you started boxing pretty young. What really drew you into it, and how did you get involved in it?
Oh, man, it was so long ago that the memories are kind of distorted a little bit. But what I remember, my dad used to have me fight, boxing fight, in the valley. He lined me up one time with a whole bunch of kids. But I used to get into a lot of fights in elementary school and stuff like that. So he had me fighting one time with gloves, and I couldn't tell if that was after boxing or like when I started boxing or before I started boxing. And then he signed me up to the Boys and Girls Club. And from there, my mom signed me up to the Boys and Girls Club. And then I just started going there every day after school. And, there's so many things, basketball, the game room. There was taekwondo there. And for some reason, after hours, because I would always stay late, and all the little kids are supposed to leave before 6, but I used to stay. So I used to get in there and stay past 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock until the Boys and Girls Club closed. And Carlos was the only one who allowed me to stay there. If not, upstairs, everybody would kick me out. So the boxing room was the only place I could be. So what I would do, I would train, because then I didn't allow nobody just standing around. So I just stayed there, training so I could be at the club. And over time, I started getting fights. I was winning a lot of exhibitions at first, and that's how it kind of went about. And I was winning, so if you're winning, you're gonna keep going, and that's how it really happened. If I was losing, I probably wouldn't have kept doing it, but I was winning, so I just kept going.
So was Carlos your first coach for boxing then?
Yeah,
he does some great work out there. Definitely shout out to the Boys and Girls Club of Worcester. They do some awesome stuff out there. Yeah. Great programs after school, tutoring, sports, boxing, taekwondo. They got a beautiful facility.
Yeah.
They do some good stuff.
So Boxing Rex got you ranked in the top 10 in the U.S. And in my opinion, your weight class is the best weight class out there. With guys like Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, who people are calling the pound-for-pound best right now. what is it like to be moving up in the ranks in the best division in boxing?
I'm happy, knowing that they think this is the best division. I'm climbing up in the ranks of the best division, and I'm gonna be the top dog in the division with due time. Is great because when you're on the top of the best division, you're really considered really good, real great. So I feel like I'm in the perfect division right now, to be climbing up these ranks and in a place where not a lot of people want to fight these guys. And so it feels real good. I'm on it, and I'm just gonna keep working hard and keep climbing the ranks, and eventually, I'll be the top dog at 135.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Speaking of that, what did you were you able to take in the Ryan Garcia fight this past weekend?
I did. I tuned in. I watched it. It was a very good fight. Much respect to both fighters. It was a great fight.
What was there anything that surprised you in that fight? As far as I think everyone was a little surprised to see Garcia get dropped.
What I took out
early
from that fight, I was able to see that Ryan had some pop to him, some power. People focus on his speed, but the speed translates to power. So I feel like that's what I was able to see. Besides the flaws, whatever. Every fighter has flaws, but one thing that popped out to me was that he has some pop to him, more than people can think.
Now, did you ever fight Garcia in any of the amateurs or any tournaments?
No.
Because I saw after the fight, they were talking about how him and Haney fought each other, 6 times in amateurs. And I know you fought, Teofimo and Jeron Ennis. So Ennis, I know a lot of these names have, met each other, especially in that division early on.
Yeah. No, I never met them. I think they were too young, I think they're like 21. I'm 24. So, in the amateurs, it's like a 2-year age bracket.
Yeah.
So I never got to compete with those guys.
Yeah, Luke Campbell, though, big props to him. I mean, we all knew what he could bring anyways. I mean, he's a hard-nosed guy. So that was exciting to see him in there. And, what did you think of Garcia coming out on the throne? I got to ask you. On that big gold throne in the beginning.
Oh, his walkout entrance?
Yeah.
It was a great move for me. Every world champion or every, exciting fighter has to have a great walkout entrance. Boxing is not only about what you do in the ring, but it's what you do outside of the ring. You got to entertain the people every way you can, not just in the ring, because you only fight, how many times a year. You can't you got to make the most out of it. So, Roy Jones, I think, did that. Floyd Mayweather did that, It's another page out the book, maybe I'll do that. That's something that I always dreamed of doing when I was a kid. So
yeah,
when I'm head of the throne, I'll do the same thing. I'll be walking out.
I think we saw Tyson Fury do it earlier this year too, in the Wilder fight. So no, I thought it was cool too. I was definitely surprised. I mean, that was kind of his coming out party. Obviously, was his biggest fight. So I agree with you. You got to have a little flash to you. You got to have a little fun with it too.
Yeah.
And some other guys that have some flash outside of the ring are some of these celebrities that are getting involved in boxing. Obviously, on the evening you fought with Jake Paul and Nate Robinson. What do you think about some of these influencers and guys like Nate Robinson, or a former NBA guy, getting involved and getting in the ring?
There's two ways I look at it. One way is that I think it's good for boxing because these influencers are bringing a lot of new fans to the sport, and they're bringing in money, revenue into the sport, and boxing is a business, so that's what they want. And then on the other side, I look at it is just that sometimes, I take this, I'm passionate about boxing. I love boxing. I worked hard for this my whole life. And then sometimes seeing, somebody who just has the clout or the followers and never put in that work, and get higher paydays or just get that spot that everybody has worked so hard in their life for, that's a different position, but they work hard too in their own way, just not in the sports way, but at the same time, they're bringing fans in. So it's two ways. I'm not against it. It's entertaining, it's keeping the sport, busy. on everybody's eyes, which is important. People gotta understand it's not something that anybody can do. You know, we seen what happened. People can really get hurt. This is a dangerous sport, and yeah, just don't think anybody can do it just because you see influencers and celebrities doing it. They took very they made sure to prepare themselves well for the fight, and even at that, you know, you can really get hurt.
Yeah, I think you made a good point that it was kind of more like entertainment, and that's what it kind of seemed like that whole night. And I think a lot of the people tuning in were looking for entertainment, and I felt like when I was tuning in, I was looking for a fight night. So when I saw you guys start out right off the bat, I'm like, here we go. We got a fight going here. So when you fought Sagawa, was he one of your more difficult opponents that you had fought, sort of climbing the ladder recently?
I would say so. I think, you know, every fight that question comes up for every fight I have, you know, and I'm always gonna say yes because every person I fight here going out is gonna be my more tougher because at the end of the day in this sport, they just try to put people who can potentially dethrone you because that's what this sport is about, is matching you up against somebody who can potentially beat you. And that's what makes great fighters. So every fighter I faced, you know, in that order has been tougher than the last. This dude was ranked higher than me in the world. He's upset a lot of dudes. I knew he was going to be a tricky fighter coming in. So yeah, definitely. But I didn't feel like that in the fight, no. But on paper, yes. But in the fight, no. He was not my toughest, and it's only because I made it look that way, just because I was so comfortable and I took control of the fight and I was able to do what I wanted to do in the fight.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead, Wow, man.
No, I was just going to say you brought up a really good point a minute ago when we were talking about the celebrities and the YouTubers and influencers getting involved in boxing. I think a lot of fans and people outside the sport don't understand the discrepancies in pay that there are for a lot of these guys. And like you said, this is something you've been working at your entire life. And I think a lot of people think that anytime someone is in a professional boxing match, they're making 10, 20, 30 million dollars. And a lot of people that don't follow the sport, that's what they think. And they think everybody's getting paid like Floyd Mayweather, or, you know, everyone's getting paid like Manny Pacquiao. I remember a few months ago, a former heavyweight champ actually, you know, he was talking about why he didn't like this kind of movement with some of the celebrities getting involved. And he actually was posting some of the fights that he had had in recent years where he had actually lost money due to travel and everything else just to get the fights. And so I think that it's kind of a wake-up call when people learn that, because like you said, guys like you have been training your whole life for this, and every fight you're hoping to get a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And so you can get to that point where you're, you know, main eventing and you're making that money. But I think everyone assumes that just because someone's in a ring and on TV, that they're making, you know, 10, 20 million a fight. And I think that surprises a lot of people, and they learn that they're not.
No, yeah, it's definitely true. You know, the pay in boxing, it's been history of it that, you know, it's a sport that you sacrifice a lot for and don't get a lot in return, you know. It's that very little that, you know, when you do make it up there, then you get rewarded. But even at that, sometimes you get on top, and depending who you're with, depending your deals, you know, you can be on TV all day, but that doesn't refer to how much you're getting paid. So,
yeah, similar to a Massachusetts guy, Mickey Ward. I think his first $1 million gate was with Arturo Gatti, and he had fought. It must have been he was like 36, 37 years old. So obviously, a young man like yourself on the rise, you know, hopefully would not have to wait that long to get the big payday.
I'm hoping not.
But we hope for you too that it doesn't take that long. So obviously that pay-per-view event you were just on was a bit different because it was, you know, an open arena without fans in it. What has it been like for you boxing and training during the pandemic? Have you had to shift where you train at all? Have you had trouble sparring, finding partners?
Yes. So when COVID came, you know, everything shut down. My main training facility for forever was the Boys and Girls Club. And then when that closed down, that was only open to essential workers' children. So I transferred over to Camp Get Right. And then my coach also works at a different gym called Guaranteed Fitness in Spencer. So I'll travel between those two gyms to train. And then the sparring, yeah, so-and-so. But luckily we have a good friend, a good coach out in Boston who has a lot of fighters, and he had all the work that I needed. So I was able to work with, multiple people, 5, 6 guys all in one place. And so I didn't, I had all the work that was needed for me. So
Yeah, absolutely.
It was good.
Did it throw you off at all as far as how active you wanted to be this year? I know in previous years, you fought 3 or 4 times. Obviously this year you fought twice, February and just this past one in November. Were you hoping to be more active this year?
That's what a young fighter likes, to be active. So I wasn't as active as I was like, but I can't put the blame on nobody, my promoter, anybody. COVID is COVID. So I'm grateful I got to have that fight. February 20th was right before they shut things down, literally the week before.
Yeah.
They had fights the following week and everything got shut down. And I'm glad I was able to get another fight before 2020 ended. So, I'm blessed. A lot of other fighters didn't get the opportunity. They went the whole year without fighting. So I'm blessed that I actually got 2. A lot of people only got 1 and a lot of people got none. So yeah, I got 2. So I'm thankful for the year.
No, absolutely. I've heard a lot of guys say that, they fought early in the year, January, February, maybe late February, depending on what state they were in, and then didn't have any action for the rest of the year. We've talked to some guys that, gyms were locked. They couldn't even, get into them depending on where they lived in the States. So, yeah, certainly you were able to, sounds like you were able to get your work in and able to get into the gym, which obviously is important.
Yeah, the first couple months, I would say, from March, April, and May, didn't have no really gym access. It was really outside training in a small spot, just one-on-one with my coach. Staying fit. There was a little gym center, just doing what I could do on my own for those 3 months. Nothing too heavy, but just staying active. And then in June, that's when I really got to ramp it up. The gym started to open up privately, stuff like that. And that's when it kicked off, the gyms and the sparring and stuff like that in June. So.
Yeah, I noticed a lot in Massachusetts, a lot of the gyms when they first opened back up, like you said, were privately. And I know a lot of stuff was one-on-one coaching, and they weren't allowing, obviously, big groups in there. So is that how it kind of started off for you? Was more one-on-one stuff?
Yeah, one-on-one. One-on-one with me and my coach, one-on-one with me and somebody else, me getting my road work in, just always one-on-one, nothing group. And then in June, I was able, get a little bit more work. That was my first sparring, was in June. And then by July, I would say I was in full effect.
That's great.
And obviously the training works because you won with a knockout. Wildman and I watched the fight over and over, and it had something to do with the angle, but we had a difficult time seeing that. Was that a body shot you took him out with, or was it a head shot?
No, it was a body shot. They had replays on it from a different angle. I wish I should find it. It's somewhere on YouTube on one of the highlights, I think. I should have posted it because he was a southpaw, and I switched and hit him with a left straight to the liver. And that happened with Ryan, he was fighting a southpaw, left to the liver. And then you see it, scrolling around the internet, a lot of, highlights of people doing them body shots to southpaws, and my fight ended just like that. So I found it to be real cool. What round was it? The 7th round? My fight ended in the 7th round too. So I don't know why I didn't post it. I just was too lazy to go look for the video. But yeah, it was a body shot.
Yeah, so yeah, I'd like to see those two side by side as well. I don't know if there's a way to post split screen, but yeah, 2 terrific knockouts. How do you see your career going forward? Who would you like to see of the guys like Garcia or Haney or Lomachenko? Who would you like to fight first as you climb the ladder?
who would I like to fight first? To be honest, if I got the chance to fight Teofimo for all the belts, that would be great because and then I'll just be the top dog, and then they all have to chase me. And I wouldn't mind, Ryan Garcia. He has a big following, so that would benefit me as well. And but I don't care who they are, who it is, whenever it is, this year, I'm ready to fight them all.
Nice. And you had fought Teofimo in the amateurs in the Golden Glove Championship. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was the finals of the Golden Gloves. I think it was in Las Vegas in, I think it was 2015, around there. And, yeah, it was just, amateur fight, 3 rounds, decision. I lost. Nothing about it, but we fight again, it won't be the same outcome, so it don't matter. He'll be a little confident because he beat me once, but it's going to be a different story, We professionals, we're doing more rounds, it's different.
Right, exactly. It's a whole different game, and we saw how Lomachenko in the second side of that fight was able to show him some things and pretty much beat him in the second half of the fight. Is there anything about what he does that you'd like to exploit in the ring?
Lomachenko or Teofimo?
Teofimo.
There ain't much really to say, when we fight, everything that I'm going to exploit will be shown and displayed that day.
Nice.
So we're just getting 2021 started. What are some of your goals for this year? And, obviously you already mentioned you want to be active, you're young, you want to get those fights. What are some of your goals for this year? Is there anything that's in the works that you can talk about yet?
Nothing can be I don't really know nothing. I got no fight date, no fight opponent. I ain't got nothing. So I'm just staying ready, training, and getting ready for when I do get that phone call, I'm ready, no excuses, and being the best I could be. But for this year, depending what's going to happen, if we're going to have another lockdown, I hope not. I just want to be active, get a couple fights in, 3, 4 would be great. Outsource myself a bit, getting, more fans to watch me, more views. We'll see what happens.
We tuned in on your YouTube channel, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. And it was like a day in the life of the fighter. And how much of that is this grind where you don't know what your next fight is, but you need to keep in shape because at any moment you can get a phone call and you're fighting for the championship of the world.
Yeah. Wait, repeat that question one more time.
Oh, sorry. So I was saying, first off, I enjoyed your YouTube channel, and you kind of displayed it that it's really like a grind.
Yeah.
That every day, if you do the same things, that you're going to be in a position to be able to fight for the championship. Is that what you're trying to depict in your YouTube channel?
No, my YouTube channel is just who I am, kind of, just giving people, I'm very like a private person, so my friends, they just try to, a lot of people always say I should YouTube, but I'm not that, I've never been that person to be, out there like that, so I really had like friends and people kind of push me and influence me to really try to outsource myself more to the public eye. And they just recorded me, and I just do what I do. Whatever you see on YouTube, that's just what I do. If it's training, if it's just whatever I do. I don't even know which video because I got a couple of videos, but it's just a little bit more of who I am. That's about it. If anybody wants to get a little deeper than just what's on the boxing and what's you see on Instagram, YouTube will give you a little bit more of who I am.
Deeper dive. Yeah, I like it. It for sure.
How important is it for today's fighters to have that Instagram following and to have that, Facebook following? Because you mentioned Ryan Garcia's following earlier. He's got, X amount of million fans, and who knows how many of them are boxing fans versus just, people following him, et cetera. But How important is it in today's world to build your fan base online, social media?
Very important, you know, not only for boxing, but for all businesses. Any business this year in 2020 who didn't have a real internet-based business, social media way to, you know, engage with their consumers, I don't think they really performed well. I think I was watching that on Bloomberg or something, like, listen to that. They didn't, you know, a lot of them went bankrupt and stuff like that, and out of business. So, you know, for boxing, it can be the same way. If you don't really have that following, if you can't sell tickets, if you can't get people to watch you, it's going to be hard, you know, to get them paydays. It's going to be hard to put you in the position you want to be. You know, you can get there, but probably either slower, or, you know, if you can get those positions to fight highly ranked people and win belts, then that's the traditional way. You know, you fight the best and you become the best. Back then there was no social media following, there was none of that. So that's how you got it. And now here there's a different way. You know, you can use social media as leverage. You can use that business model of making sure that if the networks and the promoters are going to get paid by having you on their event, then you're going to be on the event. So yeah, but I think it's very important. You know, it all comes down to personality too. You know, I try to get out of my shell a little bit and try to be more to the public eye, but I'm not going to switch up who I am internally and who I am as a human being just to, you know, catch some followers. That's not me, you know. I am who I am. I outsource a little bit. I might do a little bit of this. I might do a little bit of that, but I'm not going to go out my way, you know. I spent all my energy into the ring, into my training, and, you know, my personal life, my family, you know. I like to keep it private, and so whatever I give you, that's what you're going to get. That's it.
Nice.
What would be the because obviously we're local guys in Massachusetts too. What would be the ideal main event location for you? Would it be DCU Center? Would it be the Garden? Or would it be somewhere outside of New England?
I like to fight in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
You know, because it's still kind of somewhat close to home, a 3-hour drive. You could take a plane ride to New York right now. Madison Square Garden, you know. I'd like to fight there.
What about
you mentioned?
Sorry,
you mentioned earlier that you were into investing, and so if you looked at the fight game as stocks, and you looked at some of these fighters who are going to make the most money and who are going to be the most successful over 2020 and 2021, who are you buying stock in if you were buying them in fighters?
To be honest, I'll buy stock in me, because right now you could get me at a low value and I'll, blow up.
That's right. That's right.
That's what you want. You know, you want to get the highest return on your investment. You know, these fighters right now, they're pricey already, you know, and you don't know, they can drop. Their value can drop at any moment because they're already, you know, a high ticketed price. But oh man, that's hard. I can't tell you that. That's hard.
No, that's a great answer. And we saw it happen with Lomachenko. He was considered pound for pound best in the world, and he dropped. He dropped.
The high stock just dropped.
It dropped, man. So you got to sell it high.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah.
You gotta sell it high, you know, and reinvest.
That's right.
Reinvest into something low.
So who are you selling high besides Ryan Garcia and Teofimo and Haney?
Who am I selling high?
Yeah,
those are all the guys.
Who do you think's blown up a little bit too popular and can't back it up?
Man, all these guys are good. You know, the hype behind them, you know, the one who had the most hype, as we all know, was Ryan Garcia. This was the fight that he came out to show that, to back it up a little bit, you know. Now, people can't just say he's just a social media follower. He defeated a true fighter, you know. He was the most hyped guy, the most that you can say sell at a high price. And He's still till to this day because he's probably, you know, the one with the most followers. So if you want to look at it like that, him
Yep.
with the most followers is the high ticketed like that. He has the most potential to get that drawback.
Right. Yeah, I did feel he went down a little bit when he got dropped by that body shot though.
Yeah.
A little bit exposed, and hey, maybe he's a little bit more popular than he should be.
Following's following, but like I said, stocks, they go down, they go up, they do zigzags, there's a whole bunch of lines to them, and that was just a little hiccup. He went back up. We'll just give it time to see, Just give it some time to see.
What was for 2020? What, other than your fights, what was your favorite fight to watch? You think for all of 2020?
I gotta say, my favorite was definitely Lomachenko versus Teofimo, because I don't bet on boxing, but I put money on that fight, and I won money. So that was my favorite one, and they both in the division. So I really like Lomachenko. I fought Teofimo. I put money on the fight, so that was my favorite fight of 2020, besides mine,
Of course. Yeah, that fight was exciting because it was, two of the top names in the division and in boxing going at it in the middle of a pandemic. And I think that was huge for boxing because, we missed out on so many fights this year, so many big fights. Yeah. And those are two names of two guys that are obviously super respected in the game and agreed to get in the ring together. So I thought it came at the right time too.
No, yeah, it was good because, these guys, they ain't dodging nobody. They take on whoever. And both of them, I think they only had 14 fights at the time, So out of all fighters, these are guys with probably the least amount of fights that are both champions. And they're fighting each other. They're not waiting for no hype. They're not doing no run around. So I really like that, old-fashioned, true champ style.
Of course. Well, Jamaine, we really appreciate your time tonight. This is a great conversation. Love learning more about you and what some of your goals are and how you're approaching them. We'd love to have you on the show again sometime. And
yeah, anytime.
Hopefully soon you'll have a strap over your shoulder when we have you back. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah.
We wish you the best of luck, and we'll definitely be tuning into all your fights coming up.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm with you, Jamaine. I'm buying that stock too, man. I got to get online. I'm buying
all right,
it.
Man. Cool.
We
all
appreciate
right, man. Have a good night, guys.
You too. Happy New Year.
All right. Take care.